Hello, Just2 Film here. It's been a long day, but I was like, you know what? I want to talk about The Brutalist today. And The Brutalist is one of the most interesting movies I watched at Toronto International Film Fest 2024. This is by Brady Corbet, who I love from such films like Funny Games US, Mysterious Skin, Simon Killer. But he's directed a couple of films, which I haven't seen any of them yet. Childhood of a Leader and Vox Lux. This is a 3 hour and 20-minute film. And somehow, I think it's one of the best paced films of this year. It uses its time really well, but there are some problems with the third act that we'll get to in a bit. This is also one of the most beautiful films in its visual style, with some crazy oneers, some super impressive framing that feels purposeful, but is also just like, how did they pull that off? It's shot in VistaVision, which I don't see too often nowadays, but it just brings so many interesting color palettes on screen. And also has one of my favorite scores of the year. In many ways, it's about as good as the technicals of Queer, if not slightly lower, because I think Queer is my favorite film technically this year in terms of its score and how it's shot. This is almost as impressive, and it's funny because it has a lot of the same problems with its structure. But for more praise, Adrien Brody is fantastic, where he plays a Hungarian Jew that has fled Europe to live the American dream. And this is the deconstruction of the American dream in many ways, but it's also a tribute to brutalist architecture. There's also some other interesting themes of Jewish identity in here and the exploitation of capitalism. Adrien Brody is absolutely fantastic, and Guy Pearce is freaking awesome too. I think just about every performance is great, but those two definitely stand out as basically the two leads. Really, Adrien Brody's the lead, and Guy Pearce is the supporting. Felicity Jones and Joe Alwyn are also pretty darn good. I remember I saw Joe in Kinds of Kindness recently, and this is a very distinct role from that. So yeah, great performances overall, and I could see many nominations for the Oscars if you're interested in that from this film. But we'll see, because I also feel like this film is not as accessible as many of the other films that might be nominated for Oscars usually. It is a very long film, and I think that will initially turn people off. But like I said, the pacing is kind of fantastic. Now, the problem with this film, again, comes in the third act, specifically where it ends. Kind of like Queer, when I saw the words epilogue on screen, I was like, wait, that's it? The final scene before the epilogue just felt like it kind of came out of nowhere. It was satisfying in some ways, but also it was just like, oh, that's where they're going to end it? Again, it felt like something that wasn't really built up to. And then when we get to this epilogue, which, again, I was hungry for a third act, and that was at, what, like 3 hours into the film? The epilogue feels like it just kind of hand-feeds a lot of the themes and kind of explains a lot of what the film was going for. I was like, we could do without that epilogue, even though the epilogue has some great visual design in it, but I think I really like the music choice in it, which was surprising. But yeah, great film, surprisingly well-paced. There's an intermission, which, thank you. More long movies need intermissions, especially for theater experiences. But I do understand that, like, I can't say every long movie needs that, because there are definitely films that if you had an intermission would just break the whole experience. This had the best place intermission, where I was like, oh my gosh, that is perfect. And it felt relieving, and it ended at a good place before that, and it started at a great place after that. I really did enjoy a lot of what this film was going for. I just expected, I guess, a little bit more in how it ended and how it wrapped up. And like I said, the epilogue always comes off a little bit too self-explanatory. With all things considered, I'd rate this such a high 7 out of 10, much like Queer. It's one that I do want to watch again, but I do think I like Queer just slightly more, even though I feel like Queer has a lot more things wrong about it. I think the highs in the narrative just says a lot more than what I saw from The Brutalist. But again, these are two great films, and I can't wait for more people to experience them. But let me know if you saw Brady Corbert's The Brutalist, whether you saw it at TIFF, or maybe you're seeing this in the future when it's already out in theaters. Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comments. Subscribe here for more movie reviews from TIFF and from outside, and I'll see you later. Peace out. Bye.